Good morning, welcome to 59 Minutes. My name is Levi Gones. This morning we are going to be talking about that topic that you've just seen there, deciphering data on election choices. And to join me in talking about the data that's available on the findings that they have had on matters election is the Kenya lead analyst and Kenya country lead and senior data analyst for Traweza East Africa, Dr. James Ciera. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Have I said it correctly, Ciera?
Yeah, it's Ciera. It's supposed to be the one.
Oh, Ciera.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
It has...
So there was a minor error with as one of the letters there.
Okay.
So I decided to assume the error.
Yeah, it sounds very, what is it called? Exotic.
Somehow. It reminds me when I went to study abroad.
Yeah.
So they never sent my picture. So boys there thought that I'm a lady. So it was quite enticing on their side. And by then I had a baby face.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me about Traweza East Africa. What do you guys do?
Traweza is a regional NGO. We have offices in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, although our headquarters are in Dar es Salaam. Basically what you do is to bridge the gap between policymakers and citizens by amplifying citizens' voices. So kazi yetu ni mashinani. We go collect information because the mandate of the government is to provide services, to deliver. So we do also want to hear what citizens are saying. So what you do is to go talk to them using statistics. I think that's my area, and that's why you mostly hear about data and all that. So we go get a sample, sufficient sample to represent the country and all that, and then we compile this information and share this to policymakers. And we normally bring them together so then they can be able to ask questions. Our citizens can have an opportunity. For instance, like some of these wajumbe, the MPs, and some of the ministers, allow me to use that term. It's quite hard for them to sit down with the wananchi and answer questions. So with the data, we have now ammunition from the citizen side of which can be used to engage them. As in, we want this and this to be done. You promise this and this. Why has this not happened? Okay. We operate at national and at subnational level. We have done a lot in Makueni. We have shaped a few policies, issues to do with people with disability. Yeah. I remember the other day we had kind of a workshop and we brought them on board and a few things were addressed. So basically that's our mandate.
Okay, I'm glad that we have a data analyst in the house today because a lot of the times we always ask the question, these people who are being sampled, wako happy? I've had people sit here and say, have you been sampled? Have you been sampled? Have you been sampled? Tell me, take us into the science of the sampling.
Let me ask you a very simple question.
Yes.
Suppose today you start feeling, having joint pain, fever and all that. You suspect you have malaria.
Yes.
Now, if you go to the hospital, will they drain all your blood for them to assess whether you have malaria or to detect whether you have malaria?
No, they'll take a sample. I see where you're going with.
You see now. Yeah. Now, the difference between the population and the blood is that, blood is well distributed. As in, whatever you have here on your toe is what is in your brain. So they have a mechanism within the body to make it random. I think there's some statistics that they did to randomize the component of the blood. So in the populations, so what you normally do is to stratify or subdivide the country to sections, and you ensure that in all these sections, because already we understand, let's say whatever is in Western is totally different from what's in all the people in the coast. They have preference, priorities, and all that. So ensure each part of each component has some representation. So we go around, collect this individual or information from this individual, bring them here. Now, the other thing that we need also to understand is that we can't work without the census data, because our ultimate goal is for the sample to reflect what is in the census. So we have the statistics from the census and the statistics from the sample, and then we compare. So we normally do some statistical adjustments because someone from, like, let's say Nairobi, has some power than someone from a very sparse county. So how will these two people be distributed? So we have to ensure all the methodological issues and the statistical formulas are applied, at least to ensure that if you get this sample, we normally use simple indicators like gender. At census level, it's around 50, 51, 49. Women are more than men. So are we going to get the same proportion from the sample? So those are some of the things that we normally use, at least to assess and gauge. Yes.
Okay.
I hope that's something simple and clear.
Yeah, well, it's a bit complicated still for those of us who do not know much about it, but at least
have an idea.
We have an idea because we know, you do pick a bit of,
Yes.
And also you consider regions, you consider gender, you consider, I'm sure, age demographics.
Yeah, so I just gave one indicator, gender, which is simple to understand. You also look at age distribution.
Yeah.
You also look at other factor, urban-rural proportions.
Yes.
So that has also to be factored into the sampling process.
Okay. So recently you released a finding on Kenyans' opinions on decisions.
Yes.
In matters election. And first, how long did it take you to come up with this particular report?
It took us like a month because we normally have telephonic interviews.
Yeah.
And I also mentioned something about why we have to go that way. So, a classical service, you have to go knock doors and sample individuals within the household, collect information at the household level, and then you do that. So what we have two methods in which we use to collect data. We have that one. So the usual one that we have been using for a long time is we do all these physical visits and all that, and we provide respondents with phones because there are some people who can't be able to be reached if they don't have a phone. So we make sure that they have a phone and we send them credit. Now, from there, we have a calling center. We have partners who have well-established calling centers. And whenever we come up with a questionnaire, now we normally do piloting and all that. We have qualified people, and then they're the ones who ask these questions. So we have a system that collects this information, we code it, and after that, we compile the data. Now, during the COVID time, we had a lot of challenges. One, it was not good to expose the interviewers to all this, because if he or she gets COVID, you know what that one means, especially to those who are a little bit elderly.
Yeah.
And they have underlying conditions. So we have partners who have very large databases. And they have so many surveys that they have done. So we random sampled those numbers, and these are the same people who had consented to be interviewed at a later date and all that. So because we have issues to do with the ethical issues and all that, because you can't just go and force someone to answer questions, he has to consent and all that. Okay. So after doing that, so these are the people we keep on calling and getting to know their opinion on different issues.
I see.
And besides that, we also have the methodological part of it, which I won't spend time. I think I've already shared that, yes, in terms of how we curate the sample to ensure that it reflects the census.
So in terms of the main points, what were you seeking to find?
We had voters registration process and education. You remember what IBC was carrying out in the month of November, December, and January. So, and allow me to say this, most of polling companies, what they're interested is to go to know who is leading and who is not leading. But there are so many other fundamental issues that need to be addressed. If you are there to help wananchis, or you are there to ensure that wananchi's priorities are taken into consideration, because it's not just about who will be elected. We have other things like how is IBC doing. For instance, from the findings, let me not get into that, we'll be happy if IBC can be able to do a better job. And we are there to help them as in terms of providing them information from the citizen side. So what I want to know, was it a success? Was the exercise a success or not in terms of registration? Because mostly they were targeting young people. Have they been able to achieve the objective? So that was the driving force behind what we did. Because, you know, without registering as a voter, there's no way you can be able to go and vote. So that's now the first step. And we have other two surveys that we are going to conduct, at least to get to know, now, yes, these people have decided to register. Are they going to vote or not? Yeah. So all those things.
I think let's start there, because that's a very, very pertinent issue.
Yeah. So what we did is to survey, as in to collect information on how they perceived or how they think about the exercise that was there. One of the things which was a bit shocking was that, of which we worked quite closely with IBC, because you know they are the ones who will be able to use the information to make a few changes of here and there. And we have been having one-on-one engagement with them, because even before we go to the public, we have to sit down for them to get to know what's going on. We don't like ambushing them, because that's not our aim. We sit down and get to see what they can be able to do to change. And yeah, they knew something had not gone all that well. So they acknowledged that's something that they did. And one of the shocking thing was how you participated in the registration, because it wasn't all that good. From the findings, we compared what was there in 2007, a few months before the elections. And in terms of registration, I think it was a little bit higher compared to the way things are. And that's one of the questions that we kept on asking ourselves. In terms of awareness level, it's quite high, because we asked this question, kwamba munaongea siasa and all that. And these people said, yeah, we talk more about siasa, we have social media and all that. So there are so many platforms where sharing of information happens. So with all that, this can translate to more awareness and more willingness and in terms of engaging into the forthcoming election. But among the youths, the numbers were shocking. Because on average, from even the findings that we collected, we found that around 88% of wananchi, they know about IBC, which was something good. So in terms of knowledge, iko huko juu. Now, but when it comes to whether they have registered, so in 2017, it was around 90-something, around 95% wananchi had already registered. But this time round, it's only 85. So the big question is, awareness is high, but the willingness to register as a voter is quite low.
It's quite low. Did you go into the why?
Yes, we had to. But now, even before we get to the why, as I've told you, we have this demographic characteristic. You look at by age, of which you found more men have registered than female. It was 89 for men and 81 for female. So there's that gap. And on the other side, those people who vote more are women. I don't know whether that's something. Okay, the difference might not be
that a general
big.
statistic, or
I
is it statistic of
don't
your
know
findings?
why, but
Is it over the years that we have?
Sometimes, but let us not dwell on that. What I want us to dwell on is on the age issue.
Yes.
Because if 85% of the general population had registered, among youths, those are aged between the age of 18 to 24, it's only 67%. That's a big drop. Now the question is, why? Na sio peke yake, even when we look at it regionally, because we had to divide the country into a few regions. We had Nairobi, Mombasa, the eastern and central region. We had Lower Rift Valley, Nyanza, western, and arid areas like Garissa, Wajir, Marsabit. Voters registration was also low. It was at 77. But the most shocking one was among the youth at 67%. So we were wondering what's happening, because when you project how will things be in like 2040 or 2050, you can...
Oh, beyond August 2040.
Yes,
yeah.
Because those are the things that we need to look at. Because look at it this way, how will it translate? By then, these are the same people who will be now aged around, let's say 40, 50.
Yeah.
Now imagine the youths of that day. So if today is 67, maybe to be 41.
I think it depends on the factor. I'm curious to hear what the number one factor would be that's causing that lack of registration. Because then it can inform us even about the future.
Yes, number one, they have no intention to vote. Hawataki. Kama sitaki kuvote, why should I go and spend time?
Oh, I was hoping it was about the process.
Because
Because if it was about the process, in my opinion,
the next thing was
then if we solve the
lack of
process,
IDs.
we get a high number.
The second reason
Yes.
was the lack of IDs. So many youths out there who are eligible to have IDs don't have. And another thing which was quite shocking, no candidate or issue that inspires this person to go and register.
Really? But there are slogans out there.
They are there. But, and I don't know why we have been, allow me to say, although, is it Churchill who said that politicians have to be, there's something he said about to be replaced the way we do with diapers.
Yes.
Leo and kesho unamuondoa and all that. Basically, we have we have been recycling these people. You find someone who has been there from 80s is the same person. Maybe they have reason why this person has been able to be there for such a long. And probably these are the fundamental issues that we need also to look at, because I believe we have so many people who are competent to lead us. But if it's the same person, let's say John was there in 1980s, 1990s, 2000, 2020 and all that, do you think there's something that this person will change? And now the few who have been there, maybe whatever they are doing, it's just a matter of enriching themselves. When the elections are over, and Azima Simu, you can't be able to reach out to him or her. So why should I go spend time, go and do ABCD? Another factor which I think also has made a significant contribution in terms of making people not be willing, it's the current inflation rate. Although we know there are some other factors that we can be able to control, but also that's another thing, because allow me to say this, and I might be a little bit harsh, the promises that were made in 2017, the same thing in 2013, that bei ya unga to be reduced by this factor and all that. Is that what we are getting? So I think wananchi are quite...
I was really hoping that the major cry would be a disillusionment with the referee.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Because when you inquired more, it was also an issue. Because we also wanted to know, how do they perceive the capacity of IBC to conduct a free and fair election?
Yeah.
It was below 50. That's the confidence they wananchi have. Only around 45% are the ones who are confident that IBC will be able to conduct a fair and free election. Yeah. So ask yourself, where is the 55%? Because we made comparison with what was there in 2017, because by then things were quite different in terms of the capacity of IBC to conduct a free and fair. It was over 65%. Because we didn't just ask about how they...
And that was pre-election, yes?
No, that was in pre-election. Because we had to ask for a few, within trust, we had a few indicators like on honesty in terms of counting, reporting true results, ensuring that the election is free and fair, and keeping record for future verification. I think whatever happened in 2017 and 2013, I think has changed a lot in terms of how citizens view IBC. Because in terms of counting, whether there be some level of honesty, in 2017 it was at 65%, as in 65% of the citizens believe that IBC is an honest organization that can be able to make things right, but it has dropped to 41%. So that's a big difference. Now, in terms of reporting the true results, it's 65, and now it's at 39. That's a very big drop. In terms of ensuring that elections are free and fair, it's at 45%. And when you ask whether IBC has capacity in terms of keeping the records safe on the whatever the number safe for future verification, it was at 43%. Now, one of the other issue that was cited why people are not willing, because if we haven't even gone, that was just registration. Now, the likelihood of an individual to vote.
To vote, yeah.
We were also shocked because the figures were quite bad. Because in 2017, it was around 90 what? It was at 95%. Between 90 and 96%. Yeah. But in 2021, 22, the value has gone low to 71%. Meaning that when you meet 10 people, 7 are the ones who are willing to, they have some likelihood of going to vote. Now, to make the matter worse, when you look at the youths, the value had dropped to 56%.
Well, it looks like from your, from what you're reading, I think the youths are the smarter ones of the lot, because if you look at the fact that there is such a low regard for IBC, it means that for the young people, they have followed the low regard of the IBC with an intention not to vote. But for other people, even with the low regard for the ABC, there's still like a hope.
Allow me to say something which I'd forgotten.
Send
Another
them back to the
reason.
ballot, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mwingine anaulizwa, why do you think that, why do you believe that going, okay, not voting is something good? Anasema, they have decided who is going to lead us.
Yeah, that sounds just about right in terms of
Yes.
the fear that causes.
Or the system has already decided who will be the MP,
Yeah.
who will be the MCA.
I want to ask you before we take our first break here. When you do these statistics and you get the findings that you have found, do you share them?
Yes,
with
as I
IBC?
told you, what we did after we compiled the findings, because we have to like talk to the people who will be receiving the findings, like IBC. So even before we release the information, we had to go and talk to them. They confirmed.
What kind of reception do you get?
I'm happy because we were quite happy that they received us in a very positive way and kind of affirmed that, yes, we knew results would be like that. And I'm happy because they have already taken measures to change the situation.
To try and mitigate that.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break
Yeah.
on that note. We'll come back and we are speaking to Dr. James Ciera. I've got it correct now?
Yes.
Yes. He's from Traweza, East Africa. He's a senior data analyst. We are talking about data this morning, especially on election matters. Don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages.